What made you say it again?
This is Neil, the owner of the Coffee Stop In Leigh, which unfortunately is coming to an end at the moment. So Neil, after last night was the final venue, if you like, after how many years?
10.
Wow.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about it?
I don't think it's quite sunk in yet. Like last night, it didn't seem like it. Like, probably at 4 o'clock this afternoon, it'll be like it'll hit me down.
I'm sure it'll. Yeah, in a week's time, it'll be like, wow.
That I finished working, whether it's a coffee stop or whatever. I've worked since I was 17, so it'll be the end of me. Well, you know me working live. So yeah, I'll happy and sad.
Okay, Neil. All those years ago, when you first opened the cafe, what kind of place did you think it'd become in your head? Did you have any aspirations or?
The aspirations was like last night. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to have music was my first love.
It was brilliant.
You know,
last night was truly superb.
As a coffee shop, I wanted to be the best coffee shop and proper coffee, which we don't get enough of proper coffee.
No.
Don't mean a coffee snob. I mean getting value for a really nice cup of coffee. So that was my outlook, if I could build and then build the music, which it did, and that.
Yeah, but it was certainly a hub,
yeah.
a niche hub maybe, because it wouldn't appeal to everybody.
No.
But it also served as a sort of pub.
Yeah. It did. You know,
but not geared to drinking in the.
I think there've been issues in Leigh in relation to getting licences. So for a few years you couldn't get an alcohol licence, but I could have progressed that before, and I don't want to make it so I want everybody to be drunk. I don't want that.
No.
Alcohol, like you said.
Well, it was never rowdy.
No,
and people, although people did enjoy themselves.
They did, and I've had such a lovely crowd of people, really, to every gig, and I've never had any incident whatsoever.
No, that's good. Especially in the area that you're situated.
And you know, it does get a bad rap.
It does.
I've not had a problem. I've really not. And in 10 years, there's a lot of places can say that. You know what I mean? You know, and that's the way we are. That's the people who've come in, our customers, my staff. I've always had that approach of let's listen to people before we make a judgment, and not everybody has the opportunities some of us have, do they? So we've always tried to keep an open door and build on.
Yeah, and you've succeeded in that, together with your staff and your wife and
so
whoever.
lucky,
And you were fortunate in having sons and daughters that were sort of into the music, so they were able to provide.
Yeah, but I never did it for that. I never did it to glorify. I've never been a parent like that. I've always wanted them to build their careers and be constructively criticising. And they all have done, and like I said, to see my youngest lad last night with his girlfriend develop for over like 15 years, you're very proud, really. And I'm not saying that, like I said, I'm not one of these parents who will be glorifying the kids. I'm not like that.
No, well, everybody has pride in the kids.
And last night was and they did themselves proud. And
I thought that was one of the best gigs I've seen them do, definitely.
Amazing, you know.
I mean, don't take that as a criticism. I was blown away. I thought it was really good.
They just put a lot of work.
Yeah, and the harmonies and everything were really there, weren't they?
So yeah, it's got to where I wanted it to get to, Yeah.
Okay, Neil, your place became known for a sort of 60s and 70s vibe with all the paintings and murals, as you call them last night, and various artefacts, which to me relate to that specific period.
Yeah.
Where did that passion come from?
I think, I wasn't a child, I was always a child of the 70s, so that was my passion. But when you start listening to music, as we did with the jukebox, and listening to 60s songs, you realise what a vast array of music there was in the 60s, and it covered every area of music. Early on it was Tamla, Skiffle, Mersey.
Who was your first influence, would you say? Beatles,
Kinks, I think.
Kinks. I think
they
it was the
weren't
Beatles
really
with me.
into the Beatles. I think the Kinks was one of my bands who, well, that was later, about 70, Lola. You know Lola, that sort of era with the
I Am
Kinks.
the Eight Man.
I Am the Eight Man, yeah. I love that, you know. And
I saw the Kinks.
Yeah.
I believe, I'm not sure, but because I was too young to remember, but I think they may have been back in the Beatles at the Grand Theatre at Blackpool,
right, yeah.
Possibly under another name.
Right, okay, yeah.
I don't remember much about the gig. All I remember is a neighbour had lent me some binoculars.
All right, yeah.
My gran and granddad had taken me to see the Beatles, and I passed the binoculars to somebody next to me so they could look, and I never saw them.
Yeah. So it just developed. That's what it was. It just developed into that 60s, 70s theme. Right. Or music, general.
Over the years, Neil, what special moments, with respect to the cafe, obviously, stand out? Anything come to mind?
There's nothing really specific. Yeah, I mean, our first music night was brilliant all those years ago, like nearly 10 years ago. I think I was quite lucky that I think our daughter Nicky, who was really into her singing then, and we just had a family night to get it off the ground. Bernard Southern the other week, John Willie from the bands, Skeleton Crew, you know, we've had...
You never had Skelly though?
No.
Skelly were absolutely
but we had, you know, John and Bernard, and so some of them have been highlights, and then, you know, some of the highlights of my customers. I think that I always was hoping, you know, you want to get the genuine people of Leigh who want to, and I did, and I think they're highlights of, nearly every day. I know it sounds a bit corny that, but I've been so lucky with my customers, you know what I mean, and some of the conversations we've had, you know what I mean, and never really had a bad word said, really, you know. And
so to some extent, it's been a sort of hobby, a working hobby.
I think it wasn't the intention that, but it did, you know. Obviously, you've got to make money, and we did, and we've held our own and kept going. But I think there's been some great highlights musically. But you know, actors dropping in, and you know, a few years ago, I can't remember his name now, but there was a few actors came in when they were over at Turnpike, and just generally.
You had that French band the other day.
Yeah, we had, I can't remember what they call them, Bleakness they were called, they're on there calling. So there's been, I can't name anything specific. I think it's not all been, highlights. There've been some, but generally, I think on the whole, it hasn't all been a highlight really. So
the live music nights and early doors sessions meant a lot to a lot of people. How important to you was it for you to support local and emerging talent?
It was very important, because at that particular time, no word of a lie, we were contemplating like closing. You know, we were doing okay, but it was getting harder. Everything was going up, and then we got put forward for one of the venues for some funding, and it really did, you know, equipment wise, and I've said all along, you know, the actual sound equipment here is top quality. You know, you'll get
got my piano there.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But coming through Pierre, you know, it sounded brilliant. So it was very, very important really, and I'm so glad that the Snug at Atherton and Rachel and Ben, who I knew before.
All right. Did you know people from all the venues or not?
No, mainly the Snug. I knew Rachel from a long time ago, and I'm so glad they put us forward for Leigh, because Leigh needed it, and it's a shame. It's going, but I can't go on forever. But that 3 years of Australia, people coming from Australia to play here, you know what I mean? You know, Wales, you know. It's been fantastic.
A bit of a difference between Wales and...
Yeah, you know, but they've loved it here, and they've all been, you know, like I said last night, and I know it was a bit corny, we've had artists from across the universe. You know, I got that in as a Beatles song, but we have literally, you know, Australia, the first gig on the tour here.
Yeah,
you know, so
that's
it was very important in the early days.
And it was a way for people to see something at no cost.
And you know, we did get quite a few people coming in from out the area, but I think our statistics, I was speaking to Ben from the Snug last week, and we had the most percentage of local people coming to our early doors gigs, whereas the others were coming from a little bit further afield.
Yeah.
I think we were about 75% local, and that's really good.
That is good, isn't it?
And we always, 20.
Because it is a little bit niche.
Yeah, it is.
Not everybody's in the music.
We've only had one. It was just one particular artist who didn't, probably in the wrong location, wrong. But out of all the artists, I mean, she was really good, but her musical style didn't really fit here. Which is, I wasn't when she did a gig. But yeah, it was very important early doors. It really was. Yeah.
Again, the cafe always felt more like a community hub. You've mentioned this in what have you said before, than just a coffee shop. Why do you think people connected with it so strongly?
I think because we're local. You know what I mean?
Something a little bit different.
Something a little
that
bit
people
different.
could invest the time
in this fast-paced world we live. I didn't want to do that. I wanted people to take the time. I wanted people, if they want to have a chat, they'd have a chat. If they want to just sit there and have the coffee, they could spend, half an hour or 5 minutes. And I think when people realised that's what we were local, trying so hard for the town, the people of Leigh really got behind us, you know what I mean? And I think they felt comfortable, safe space for people who came on their own. Groups of people having a chat, sorting the world out, chatting to somebody. Hey, I know somebody who can fix, you know what I mean? like yourself, or Robert, who's sadly gone.
Yeah, I miss Robert.
Top bloke, really. But I think that's what people took. I think they took it on board that we were trying to do something different. You know what I mean? In the mad world we live in, of this fast-paced society.
Places like this are rare. What do you think made this one special?
I think it goes back to what I was saying before. I think people just took to what we were trying to do. I think we were unique. We are unique. We're unique. It's something which probably from the memory banks of people growing up experienced a similar sort of thing. From a coffee bar, what didn't sell at the Beachcomber up the road where the Who played and Van Morrison didn't sell alcohol. It was a coffee shop. And I think, to that generation who supported us, they really took to it. And I think that's what made it stand out. It was that.
Yeah. Finally, what do you hope people will remember most about this place?
I just, without bigging us up, I just hope they remember our warmth and, we're just normal people. I'm not a fly-by-night businessman, and I wanted people to get that and feeling that you could come in here and walk through the door, and especially saw it for the first time. Whoa, you know what I mean? I didn't know this was here. Wow, you're a little beacon, a shining light in a gloom. You know what I mean? And that's what people kept saying. And yeah, I think I just wanted them to take away what we tried to do, and our way we did it. That's all I can say with that, really.
Okay. Well, thanks for the interview, Neil, and thanks very much for creating something special for so many people.
Yeah.
You're going to be missed.
Yeah, we are.
As indeed all the staff are going to be missed.
We will, but we will miss our customers, and like I said, I just want to say at the end here now, they've kept us going through some very challenging years, really. But I've had a brilliant, the local people of Leigh, and the people who drop in from other areas have absolutely been fantastic. And I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who's supported us over the years.
Okay,
Cheers.
thank you very much. Right, here's all the staff at the coffee shop. Thanks for everything that you've all done. I'm sure it was appreciated. Could you give a little wave to everybody?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.